Good to be here, John Phillips.
Good to hear your voice. Now, we had big news this morning that the vaccine could be out in the ether, out on the market pretty soon, and 90% effective. Do you think it's a coincidence that we were told this 2 days after they called the election for Biden?
Actually, I don't, though it is unfortunate for the president. I've been hearing about this vaccine from some of my doctor friends for a few weeks now. They thought it was going to come right before the election, but I had been warned. It's imminent, it's imminent, it's imminent. I mean, maybe they waited a few days. I suppose that's possible. But I knew this was coming. I'm delighted it's coming, and I'm delighted with the results of the election.
Wait, you're happy?
Ecstatic. I couldn't have designed a better outcome. Now, that's contingent on Georgia. So any of you who care about your country should be donating or driving to Georgia, donating to Purdue and Loeffler in Georgia. I think another 4 years of Trump would have destroyed us. It would have been, as you predicted from the beginning, I might add. Your fear with Trump was always he's going to be Schwarzenegger. He runs on these populist issues, and then he gets into office, and he just wants liberals to like him. Well, that's basically what we got with Trump when he was facing re-election. Can you imagine what he would have been like without the threat of his voters crossing their arms and staying home? Which, incidentally, they did. They did, thanks to enough of them did, thanks to the genius political strategizing of Jared Kushner. Yes, they got black votes up. I think they would have gotten black votes up in any event. Who are the main victims of the crime wave that has swept America since the Black Lives Matter movement? Of course, it's black people. Hispanic Americans didn't turn out every place, but they did in Florida and in Texas. Who are the main, for the Texas ones, who are the main victims of illegal immigration, driving down wages? The legal immigrants who have those jobs now and see their jobs being taken, their wages being driven down or jobs taken. I believe it is the two largest Hispanic counties in the country, 2 counties down on the Mexican border. So it's basically all Mexicans in these 2 counties. Both went for Trump this year, and they did not 4 years ago. They are the victims of illegal immigration. They're also the victims of Black Lives Matter riots. So I don't think it's anything, Jared's outreach efforts and meeting with Kanye that slightly increased the black and Hispanic vote. Meanwhile, as has been the Republican Party's policy for my entire lifetime, non-college educated whites were completely ignored, the most hated group in America. Finally, Trump spoke to them in 2016. He sure didn't once he got elected. What's the single demographic where Trump's percentage went down? He went up with, let me mention, with Muslims, with gays, with women, with Hispanics, with blacks. What group did he go down with? White men. Thank you, Jared Kushner. So I am so happy to have the Kushners and Ivankas out of the White House, and yet Trumpism won. Republicans had stunning victories down ballot. The Democrats, I'm sorry, your listeners probably heard this a million times by now. Democrats were expected to pick up 15 seats in the House. That's what Nancy Pelosi said. That's what all the pollsters said. Well, we've already picked up, 7 House seats, and there could be more. They were going to flip Texas. They were going to flip South Carolina. They were going to flip Ohio. They were going to flip Iowa. We were losing Susan Collins and Lindsey Graham. Not that I love them, but none of that happened. And as long as we win the 2 runoffs in Georgia, Republicans control the Senate, and all of our worst-case scenarios, the things that kept people like you and me and probably your listeners up at night, D.C. statehood, Puerto Rico statehood, amnesty, bailouts for all of the high-spending, poorly run blue states, racial quotas for prison. That's not happening as long as we have a Republican Senate. So again, I say please donate to David Perdue, Kelly Loeffler in Georgia. The runoff is January 5th. Otherwise, Chuck Schumer is going to be the Senate Majority Leader.
Now, I'm totally with you on being disappointed that the wall wasn't built. That was certainly the centerpiece.
It's way more than that. That's merely representative.
But here's what he did do, and this is what I like. One of the things that Republicans like to do, and Democrats for that matter, is they run around the globe looking for wars to get involved with. Whether it was Iraq and Afghanistan for W, certainly the Democrats started things in Vietnam. Presidents like to do that. For whatever reason, that's the way the deep state pushes them. That's the way the permanent bureaucracy pushes them. And it takes a strong voice to say no to the generals. It takes a strong voice to say, no, we're not going to do that. He did go after Libya at one point. Was it Libya or Syria? One of the two.
Syria, he wanted to assassinate Assad.
Okay. So he gave in on that one, but that was brief. Outside of that, we didn't start any new wars, which to me is a great victory. Just the fact that we're not going around the globe looking for that. The other thing, and you can thank Mitch McConnell for this because Mitch McConnell's the one who cares about it more than just about anyone in D.C. The judges that they put on were magnificent. You look at these people that Bush gave us, and you called it on Roberts. You called it very early on that man was a Judas, and you were right. But now it almost doesn't even matter because we have three very solid judges on the court, and not just there, but those lower courts that have rulings that impact all of our lives also have great judges too. And that will exist moving on into the future for generations.
Yes. You're absolutely right on both points, though. Trump did not bring the troops home as he promised, which carried him to victory in the South Carolina primary. And one piece of good news, we'll see what happens since Biden seems to be like another Robert Mueller. I shouldn't laugh about it. It's kind of sad. But, his rep is as Mr., Lunch Bucket Joe and moderate Democrat, so presumably at least some of the staffers around him agree with that approach. In any event, I was reading yesterday one of these deep state foreign policy types, I forget who it was, maybe it was Robert Gates, was denouncing Biden, saying he has been wrong on every foreign policy decision for the last 50 years. Keep reading. And one of the examples was that when he was Obama's vice president, his proposal on Afghanistan was just to leave a skeleton force there to prevent terrorism. But no, Obama stood up to him and just poured in troops. So that's good news on the starting wars front. We'll see what happens. But he
is an internationalist. He's someone who's going to want to get involved, and he's going to have the social justice warrior crowd in his ear. So he may not get involved in a war to protect the oil markets, but he may get involved in a war to advance some sort of racial equality or whatever. Religious persecution.
But we'll see that I think Americans have spoken pretty clearly on being tired of wars, and Democrats disregard that to their peril. Ditto with all of the woke crap, which obviously is what led to the red wave. It's curious that the only person I had thought, now that it's over, I'm not demoralizing anyone, I'm not harming anyone's vote. Basically 1 year in, I was telling all of my friends privately, he's gonna lose. He's governing like Jeb. He ran like Superman, and now he's blown it all off and governing like Jeb. Then the riots came, the Black Lives Matter riots, peaceful protests, the Antifa riots, and I thought, oh my gosh. But then he didn't do anything. He kept tweeting law and order. That is the symbol of Trump's entire presidency. He thinks when he says something, that's the same as doing it. Build a wall, law and order. And apparently Jared assured him, this will be great. The riots are going to help us, just like they helped Nixon, with, Anne frantically waving her hands. Nixon wasn't president then. But Americans, particularly minority Americans who live in many of the neighborhoods where the looting is taking place, probably a majority of those neighborhoods, they don't like having their neighborhood stores smashed up. So who benefited from that? basically every Republican on the ballot except the President of the United States, who did nothing but tweet law and order.
Well, he did offer the National Guard, and a lot of these mayors refused it. That's what happened here in Los Angeles. I'm not convinced that Joe Biden's going to even offer up the National Guard.
We'll see. But one of the other advantages of my fantasy result election, which I could never have dreamed could be this perfect, is generally it's very hard to take out an incumbent. I don't think it's going to be as hard to take out Kamala in 4 years. She was polling at 2% in the Democratic primaries. She was picked because she meted the, extremely rigorous criteria of being a female of color. That cackle is enraging. No one will be able to primary her because, again, a woman of color. As long as Republicans, and by the way, Republicans will likely pick up some House seats in 2 years. I'm not sure about the Senate. That will probably stay about the same, but that would be great if we picked up a seat. We should have a very good year in 2024 in terms of the Senate. The Democrats have more seats up than we do. But as long as we run Trumpism without the Trump, a populist Republican, I'm not enthusiastic about the senators. Some of them are very good, but they're a little too prissy. No, I want a manly man. Somebody like Gianforte, who was just elected governor of Montana. Remember, he punched a reporter the day before his election to the House?
Oh, yeah, in the special.
Yeah, I love that guy. DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he has blue-collar appeal. I don't think we want, I don't mean to diss these guys, but I don't think we want a Josh Hawley or Ted Cruz type. Plus, generally, historically, it hasn't been true recently, historically, governors do better anyway. So as long as we run a populist Republican, I think Republicans stand a very good chance in 2 years. And as long as we keep Georgia, in the two runoffs, Democrats cannot do any of the crazy stuff that has been giving us nightmares. 4 more years of Trump would have been an unmitigated disaster. I think he might have signed an amnesty. He might have signed a bill. Remember when he said, I'll stand up to the NRA, you can't, without having to face re-election. Oh, my gosh, John, it would have been a disaster.
What do you think of that governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem? I like her a lot because she refused to shut that state down from the very beginning.
I like her. I don't want... you'll think I'm joking, but I'm not joking. I don't want a female to run at the top of the ticket. Probably not even as vice president. We're not some, formerly great nation like Britain. We're the superpower of the world. We need a man at the helm.
But a lot of the men backed down and they shut their states down. She didn't.
No, I agree with that. I think I'm tougher than a lot of men, and I don't think. And it's a very, very small state. It's a very, very conservative state. Maybe an excellent cabinet position. Also, we need good governors out there. But no, I'm much more fond of Gianforte or DeSantis, and then there are others out there. But I think we're going to be looking at governors. The most important thing is, and oh my gosh, the old guard GOP is going to be pushing back, demanding more wars, less manufacturing, more immigration. We have to watch these Republicans like a hawk. Trumpism won, Trump lost. If you'd kept his promises. You know what? I just want to throw in one other thing because you'll remember this, and I hope a lot of your listeners will. If Trump had kept his promises, this would have been Reagan in '84. There would have been no stopping him.
How long do you think Biden is going to last as president?
I was thinking about that. I think longer than we're expecting. I mean, obviously, there's probably a movement afoot in the Kamala Harris camp to push him aside, perhaps in the Nancy Pelosi camp. But, as I say, he's been in politics for 47 years. He's had a lot of loyal aides working for him. They're not going to want him pushed aside. Jill Biden is not going to want him pushed aside. So until, and also, maybe they'll come up with another excuse to put him in the basement for the next election. I think that really helped Biden. For a normal presidential election, it would have been a disaster to have your candidate hiding in the basement. Or I'm sorry, that sounds partisan and propagandistic. Okay, he wasn't hiding, but spending the entire campaign in his basement would not have been good. In this case, I think it was good because nobody loves Biden. The presidential race was 100% a referendum on Trump, and he didn't have enough of his side. Again, only one demographic group voted in a smaller percentage for Trump than in 2016, white men. He promised to bring their jobs back. He promised to get tough on China. He promised to build a wall, to deport illegal aliens, to defund sanctuary cities, to end anchor babies day one. And there was a little more foreign meddling than you remember. We bombed Syria twice, killing innocent civilians. Remember when, what's his name? The NBC guy who comes on at 11, is
Brian Williams?
Yes, the fantasist, Brian Williams. Remember when we're bombing Syria, and he was just ecstatic. Look, those beautiful bombs. I forget what he said, but some ridiculous poetic thing. No, the entire deep state and media were totally into bombing Syria. Trump was so proud of himself. Oh, my approval ratings have gone up. Then the UN, they were supposed to have used, the reason for the bombing, they were supposed to have used chemical weapons. The UN spent 8 months looking at the tissues in the corpses. No nerve gas had been used. We bombed civilians for no purpose. That's his big, keep us out of wars. And he did it again. He did that twice. He wanted to assassinate Assad. Yes, he didn't start any new wars. Congratulations. Who thought it would be this hard? But he did not keep his promises on bringing the troops home. He did not keep his promises on not intervening in the Middle East. How about a little more attention focused on America? The campaign theme was America first, not what can we do to help the Middle East?
All right. Ann Coulter, thank you so much for stopping by. Always a pleasure. You can read her columns online at anncoulter.com. Thanks so much.
Good to talk to you, John Phillips.